Welcome everyone back to the channel, and welcome back to the Animal Crossing Iceberg. We've been on quite the hiatus since the last episode, I'll admit it, but it low-key worked out because we just got some big news for Animal Crossing New Horizons recently. Turns out that game didn't pass away. So I took that as a sign that it's time to talk about more Animal Crossing on the channel and to finally finish this big-ass Animal Crossing Iceberg. To catch you up, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, we've been covering two different Animal Crossing icebergs that I've kind of morphed together in an attempt to cover the most amount of Animal Crossing content in this little video series. I am also adding another layer to the end of this video that will cover all of the new 3.0 update information we got in the recent direct and what all is next for Animal Crossing. Hey man, listen, a whole season might have come and gone since last time, but it's finally time we get back into some Animal Crossing. Starting off today's video, we have another entry in search of an unidentified individual, this time being a potential third police officer animal. As we know, as far back as Dobuts no Mori, the police station has appeared in most of the series staples, all except New Horizons. The player would enter and claim their lost items, which would rarely actually belong to the player, but the aloof dog running the operation is none the wiser. So I used to call this place the easiest lick under the sun. In a previous part, we discussed the potential identities of the two fugitives seen on a poster at the back of the police station, but that mysterious poster isn't the only thing on this back wall. We also see another poster of a different police dog that is clearly not the same breed as Copper or Booker, and this has led many to try and identify the dog on the poster, and it might even be a completely unique character. Even looking at the dog's villager type, there aren't any that really fit the visual description of this dog, beyond maybe Goldie, but again, she's more round than this dog, I guess you could say. More than likely, this is just a small play on the Uncle Sam poster in order to recruit more animals into the police force, and some players read a little bit too far into it. It's also worth noting that the police station in Animal Crossing New Leaf has a similar poster, but with a clearly different dog on the poster. I will say it would be cool to finally see the dog in the poster in the game one day, maybe even along with the fugitives in the poster. I think that'd be such a deep cut, it'd only make like 900 people scream with joy, but it'd be so worth it, dude. Or at the very least, bring back the police station for the chance to even see these classic posters return. But hey, I guess the crime rate in New Horizons is a fat goose egg 0 because the boys in blue only stop in when it's time to grab a cup of joe. I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. I've seen some shady shit Curly gets up to, man. Throughout this series, there are a number of characters that are mentioned but are never seen, and these often make themselves known from sending letters to the player or by interacting with the player but never really being seen. One of the strange unseen characters that stands out is known as the Singing Bug Boy. The who? The what? The Singing Bug Boy. You heard me right. In the original Animal Crossing, at random times when interacting with certain snooty villagers, they will show you a letter they got in the mail that reads as a song about bugs. These letters vary, with each showing a different tip for catching the bugs in the game, with the signature sign-off of the Bug Boy being bugs. To our knowledge, the Singing Bug Boy is never seen in the series, unless the Bug Boy is someone we know who enjoys bugs. Yeah, this could have been a very young version of Flick in New Horizons, who runs the bug off, as that is the closest character who would have been young enough to be referred to as a child, aka a boy, and he clearly loves catching bugs. There is no basis on this theory besides the fact that those two aspects kind of line up, but who knows, it could be one of the Wario World Spritelings for all I know, dude. I don't know why, but when I hear Singing Bug Boy, I just think of those little annoying assholes, man. It's things like these random strange letters that really added to the atmosphere of the first Animal Crossing and made it feel larger than it actually really was. Surely at some point you're gonna meet this elusive Bug Boy, right? Go for a whole fucking century, dude. You'll never meet this character face to face. He's careful like that. I think we're alike in that way, Bug Boy.
I don't think we're alike at all, Mr. White.
Animal Crossing Wild World doesn't get enough credit for how it maintained the quirk of the first Animal Crossing while doing some completely new and unique stuff. Things like the option to donate to a less fortunate neighboring town known as Boondox really kept alive the odd nature of these games. Let me explain a little bit. In Animal Crossing Wild World, you can donate to a town that is located north of your own, where depending on how much money you donate, you will receive different gifts from the town. This is all dependent on how many bells you donate, where each goal you will start to receive feathers in the mail, ending with the illustrious rainbow feather, which you'll need to donate right around 6.5 million bells to acquire it. Sure, a rainbow feather hair accessory may not be worth 6.5 mil, but you do get to help some less fortunate animals along the way. Or do you actually? There's some theories online as to if the Boondocks actually exist or not, and if the whole time you're actually getting scammed by someone in your own town for donation money. The main suspect in this scam is actually the mayor, Tortimer, himself, and this isn't a theory without some legs, as this spawned from things that your own town's villagers say on occasion about Tortimer. Stuff like, one day I decided to go and donate my hard-worked bells, and when I donated my bells, Tortimer murmured, "I'm having steak tonight." Do you think it's a coincidence? I think not. There are other reports from villagers of Tortimer muttering about buying a new plasma screen TV after villagers donated. What a fucking asshole. The ego is out of control on Tortimer. This is all super fishy, and I gotta say, I never really trusted this old Galapagos fuck, but who's still sending all these feathers, you know? Does Tortimer have a stash of different colored chickens he plucks feathers from? Also, is the post office staff in on this, or are they being tricked too? How deep does this shit go, dude? In reality, we may never know, but by taking a closer look at the details given in the letters from the Boondoxians, along with what Pelly or Phyllis says about the donations, we may find a clear answer to if Boondox even actually exists, and if they do, if they're really as down bad as they're made out to be. Depending on the time of day when you visit the post office, you'll either get Pelly or Phyllis, in which they'll tell you more about the Boondoxians the more you donate. They state that the Boondoxians have to eat grilled cheeses, but without bread and cheese, so they have to eat dirt instead, so not grilled cheese at all. She could have just skipped over that one. This may just be a case of over-exaggeration, though, as later on you'll get a letter from a Boondoxian stating that they actually have to eat day-old donuts. You'll continue to find out more about them as you donate and what your donations actually are going to. For example, a younger member of the Boondocks, known as Tiny Tommy Hicks, is finally able to get his dream birthday where they all have frothy mud drinks. Hell yeah, dude. Sounds like a blast. I'll take mine to go, dude. As you begin donating into the millions, you'll begin to notice a change in the Boondocs' letters in that they are coming into some serious fucking wealth now. So much wealth that it becomes clear at some point that they are richer than the entire town you live in, or at least they know how to spin that shit, dude. I mean, look at some of the things they're getting, like mansions, gold dentures, and an arcade machine that, sure, it only has Donkey Kong playable, but it's a fucking arcade machine. Honestly, to me, the Boondoxians sound like a group of hippos who are happier than a pig in shit in their situation, who just happen to be viewed as poor and got insane donations because of it. By the end of your donation frenzy, Boondox will be transformed into the bustling Boondopolis, all out of the kindness of the player's heart. You gotta love to see it. Either that or Tortimer just ran off with the biggest lick in Animal Crossing history, but fuck. I mean, how else do you think he had enough to finally retire, dude? Brother found a group of exotic birds and dreamt up one of the craziest schemes you've ever seen. The worst part is it actually fucking worked. As mentioned, Tiny Tommy Hicks is a resident of Boondox and is a 5-year-old as of his birthday, which you get a notice of after donating a certain amount of bells. The name Tiny Tommy Hicks is a play on the child character from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, known as Tiny Tim Cratchit, with the last name Hicks also referring to a slang word for lower class individuals. So this was all in all, was really supposed to reference the financial standings of Boondox. Imagine being born into poverty and being named like broke bitch or something. It's kind of wild. Anyway, Tiny Tommy Hicks is never seen in the game, but we already know one Tommy who is a Tanuki, so perhaps this is just an even smaller Tanuki, probably with a bum leg or something, you know? A cute reference for sure, but I would have loved to be able to visit Boondox and even see Tiny Tommy Hicks and see the fruits of all our donations. I'd also like to see a return of Boondox or a newer version or something, as it does teach kids the importance of being charitable. And if they did bring it back, I'd love to see the town and be actually able to visit it and see the progress between each donation. Plus, it'd give the series a lot more NPCs to learn about and their backstories like Tiny Tommy Hicks, and possibly even more villagers to move to your own town from Boondox. Another mysterious character we never actually get to see is the phone clerk from Animal Crossing Wild World. In that game, during the boot up screen, you can call the phone clerk for help changing some extra settings. Obviously, we never get to see this clerk, but there may be a few clues as to who the identity of this clerk is based on how they speak over the phone. The villagers and most animals in the game will speak their iconic Animal Crossing language known as Animalese. But there are a few choice characters that speak in the other language known as Babylese. Maybe it's Bibelese. The only characters who speak Bibelese, at least in Wild World, is other humans and the snowman. So unless Frosty's big ass found a new career path, I think it's safe to say it's likely another human character. You could also call the phone clerk from your player's attic phone, in which you'll get the same settings as during the boot up. And overall, this isn't one of the biggest pressing mysteries that needs to be solved from Animal Crossing, but it is intriguing to consider the identity of such a nothing character from the game, especially considering they are one of the few who don't speak Animalese in the game. I don't know, there aren't enough humans we know about in Animal Crossing besides all of the player characters ever, so it's likely it's just another villager looking human, but hey, we'll probably never fully know. When it comes to cut content from Animal Crossing, there isn't a whole lot to look at, to be honest. You'd be much better off spotting regional differences to see anything new from these games, but there are a few examples of strange stuff that ended up being unused. Take, for example, Animal Crossing City Folk, which is known to have added the addition of Mii characters, mainly being the ability for your villager to look like your Mii, and if they're super fucked up. Catch me on a late Saturday night in 2009, fucking making a fucked up Mii, dude. In the unused assets of City Folk, we can find a placeholder Mii head that belongs to one Satoru Iwata. This isn't super surprising to see, as it resembles the one he was using at the time and after, and we've seen him use this Mii during Animal Crossing presentations, so this is just likely a placeholder asset that was left in the files of the game. Sure, maybe this was hinting at the fact that Miis might have played a bigger role in City Folk, maybe even becoming villagers themselves, but considering there is only one placeholder Mii and there's already other Mii functionality in the game, that's kind of a stretch. I'm just gonna say that. While there isn't much more to this one, it highlights a time passed for Nintendo. I feel like some of the charms Satoru Iwata brought to the company actually died off when he passed almost a decade ago at this point. I don't know, maybe it's just coincidence, but there was a special magic to the Miis and thus the Wii and Wii U era, and things like this are a great reminder of that time and how the company has changed since, for some better and for some worse. A small correction I need to make from an earlier part of the iceberg, or rather just adding information, is the number of original Animal Crossing versions there are. So we went over the N64 Japanese exclusive Dobutsu no Mori, then there is the updated version of that called Dobutsu no Mori Plus, which brought the game to GameCube in Japan. From that, the game was brought over to Western audiences and was known as Animal Crossing, the first one I ever played. Then that is where Japan once again updated the Dobutsu no Mori Plus version with Dobutsu no Mori E+. If I remember right, I believe I failed to mention the existence of the non-E+ version of Dobutsu no Mori Plus, and this is an important distinction because there are some pretty big differences between the two, mainly being the wave of almost full exclusive villagers to the E+ version, including the next entry, an ostrich named Nindori. That's right, look at him. He's epic. Unlike most of the other added E+ villagers, Nindori was actually being used as a pseudo-advertising gimmick, kind of like the other brand collaborations we've seen with villagers. The Japanese Nintendo magazine known as Nintendo Dream hosted a contest to its readers where they were able to submit their own Animal Crossing villager design for a chance to be in the game, very similar to the Swedish Animal Crossing DS contest. Volume 100 announced a winner who was Suzukaze-san with this as his submission, Not only did Suzukaze's design fit in the world of Animal Crossing, it also referenced the popular Spice Orange GameCube variant. Nindori is specifically a pretty hard villager to get, even tougher than some of the third-party villagers we discussed, as he could only move into the player's town via scanning his e-card, which was only given out in issue 102 of Nintendo Dream, making it pretty rare to find today. Not only was this villager fully exclusive to Japan, but he was also behind a paywall of sorts. Damn, dude, the early days of DLC were the wild fucking west. Imagine that today. If you want to play as Terminator in the new Mortal Kombat, you have to have a subscription to the Game Informer, but only if you live in France, dude. Nintendo Dream also featured Nindori in a short manga series that was printed in the following magazines from the contest ending. Not only that, but Nintendo Dream still uses Nindori as their mascot and has taken on a second life as their full-time standing mascot. Look at that. Unlike all the other ostrich villagers, Nindori is the only one that has never returned to the series, which I find a little bit strange. I get the villagers referencing old technology probably shouldn't return, but considering Nintendo Dream is still a huge magazine that assumingly has decent relations with Nintendo of Japan, I find it a bit strange we haven't seen Nindori return, or at least a small reference to him. Perhaps it's the fact that the magazine kind of took the character for their mascot instead of keeping it just as the game character, but regardless, that's the story of one of the rarest villagers to get in all of Animal Crossing. So we know Animal Crossing is pretty stern about following the rules that's placed on the player, like making sure to save at the end of play every fucking time. There are consequences to your actions, as in that case, you get screamed at by Resetti. But there is an even more extreme punishment we've yet to touch on. The original Animal Crossing on GameCube allowed you to connect to another player's town and visit them through inserting their memory card into the B slot on your GameCube. While this was pretty tedious, it did allow some sort of social play, even though you can't actually interact with each other at the same time. It was cool to see all the way back then, and it paved the way for future games to have some great multiplayer. If you happen to lose power or intentionally reset your game while visiting your friend's town, the game will curse you, quite literally, the next time you spawn in. Not only do you lose everything you had on your person, you lose any progress you made up to that point when visiting your friend's town. And the next time you power up the game next to your home, your player will have been cursed with a gyroid face. Yeah, it's pretty horrifying. I mean, it's bad enough on the actual gyroid, but to see it on your villager and to not know it's coming, it's pretty terrifying. It'll be permanent until the next time you load up your game, and is one of the best deterrents I've seen for not breaking the game's rules. Fuck a Resetti yelling at me. I don't want to experience this, dude. A lot of people online consider this one a glitch, actually, since it does seem like the game accidentally swapped the face textures of your character in a gyroid. But no, okay, this is fully intentional and is a thing of true horrors, truly making it a hard lesson to learn. Now we'll never forget to not reset while in another player's town, or else you'll be cursed to live like the anomaly Coco. We've already taken a look at the haunted paintings that were introduced in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but this entry takes a deeper look into some of the theories as to how Red acquires these paintings and what exactly caused them to be haunted in the first place. One of the more popular theories for this comes from SwankyBox on YouTube, where he dedicates a full video to this topic. The theory he constructs in this video is that given Red is in a boat now instead of his traditional tent, perhaps he has expanded his trade route, so to speak. He's most likely opened himself up to trading with other boats, including some not so nice pirates probably. You know, what are pirates known to be hauling on occasion? Cursed or haunted treasure? And so the theory basically states that all of this fake art in New Horizons is cursed from this pirate curse. The curse is theorized to punish those who trade fake paintings as a way to get back at the grifter. Of course, Red found a way to profit off this curse and thus pushes the curse onto others. Joke's on him, dude. I'm gonna put them all up in my house and recreate Zach Bagan's haunted museum and charge commission, dumbass. Talk about a come up off a come up, dude. There's another theory that suggests Red's curse is only lifted when he offloads all of his haunted paintings to someone else, explaining why he's always so eager to sell you a painting, and gets a little weary when you try to take a closer look. Although then again, this could be also disproved by the fact he only lets the player buy one painting a day, so who really knows what's going on with dude, but I've never trusted Red, and I probably never will. I mean, you tell me the difference. I don't see one. While there are a good bit of regional differences between the original Animal Crossing and the mini versions of Dobutsu no More, there is surprisingly only one fish that is exclusive to the Japanese versions of Animal Crossing. Well, that and the iQue game in China, but we'll touch on that one a little later. This fish is known as the Herabuna, not the Herabuna, the Herabuna, and is a local fish to the waters of Japan and Taiwan. And this was replaced by the brook trout in the North American and the European releases of the game. The Herabuna in real life is a freshwater fish that can be found most commonly in Lake Biwa and is widely unknown outside of these areas. Seeing as the fish is already pretty uncommon in real life, it makes sense to end up replacing this with a bit more common fish and found in more places around the world. But still, I wouldn't have minded to know about this Herabuna as a kid. Half the knowledge I have on fish and bugs comes from Animal Crossing, so I would have loved to learn about this fish I'd probably likely never get to know about otherwise, but hey, this was before curiosity was invented, so boring old western fish is what we got, guys. The idea that Tom Nook is this crooked business owner who will do anything to make a little extra cheddar isn't unfounded. No matter how much Nintendo tries to erase his past, we all remember, dude. If you were fortunate enough not to have to be legitimately intimidated by a raccoon, then let me enlighten you as to what time this guy was on back in the day. Real Tanuki hours, dude. In the first Animal Crossing, when you're done working for Tom Nook, he will suggest a payment plan to pay off the rest of his debt. However, he jokingly mentions he may have to send a Raccoon Goons after the player, quickly followed by him stating he was joking. But I don't know, man. He was a little quick to suggest that. Obviously, this is just a risque joke referencing stuff like loan sharks and the mob, but it does make you think about Tom Nook in a different way. All these little jokes and quips have to come from somewhere, right? I have a feeling Tom Nook funds his business in another way. Yeah, dude, this is clearly a money laundering scheme. How else does it make sense he can buy anything you bring in? He's a drug kingpin and he accidentally let it slip he has gangs of goons at his beck and call, casually playing it off as a joke. Sure, he's never actually acted on these threats, at least from what we've seen in the games, but considering there are other Tanukis who look like Tom Nook in the universe, I'd be willing to bet the big bucks that the Raccoon Goon gang is real after all. Tom Nook really out here having shooters on standby, running one of the biggest cons in the world and has been in operation for years. Who's to say he even stopped? Maybe he's just better at hiding it now. I don't know, I'm rambling, but I'll tell you this, I trust Tom Nook as much as I trust Red. One's cursed and one's a fucking drug dealer. Man, here I am talking about the painful truth of not owning a Game Boy Link cable in the early 2000s again, as the next entry takes us back out to the Animal Island. More specifically, it takes us into the deep waters of the ocean that surrounds our town as we ride to the island with Kapp'n. Depending on the month and your luck, you may have a chance to see this big-ass shadow lurking in the water, completely dwarfing Kapp'n's boat. The whale is nothing more than an Easter egg, although given its shadowy appearance, it has led many players to believe it can actually be caught. Players like Biological Perfection on YouTube went as far as this to test this theory, hacking the game allowing the player to be able to walk on the water and also spawn the whale shadow in other places on the map. You're actually unable to catch the whale shadow if you are standing on the ocean, and given how big the shadow is, the only way to actually catch the shadow is to spawn it in a river in which you can jankily try and catch the whale, which will result in you catching a Herabuna, and a glitched text box that welcomes the player in will appear, which of course is not supposed to be there as it belongs to the Able Sisters dialogue. So yeah, this was never meant to be caught clearly, as there is no data like a whale model in the game for it, resulting in it being replaced by honestly an appropriately large fish, but definitely not a whale. Regardless of not being able to catch this guy, the mere panic you gotta feel when you naturally run across him for the first time, it's gotta be crazy. It's worse if you have thalassophobia like myself, but still, the sheer size of this guy would make anyone tweak a little. Honestly, this is kind of a bonus to the fact I was never able to get to the Animal Island back in the day, as this would have scared the shit out of me as a kid. But then again, I do remember hearing about the whale and assumed it was just a rumor or something, and only to find out several years later it was real, but only real for those who weren't broke little bitches. Damn. Isn't Reddit such a quirky place? It's where I go to get all my random video game facts and horribly graphic videos all in one place. Animal Crossing New Horizons and Reddit went together like Tom Nook and broken kneecaps back when it first came out. A lot of people took to Reddit to share their findings in the game, along with trading and things of that nature. A post blew up with updates, Jesus fucking Christ, and pointed out something interesting about Tom Nook's office. After you upgrade the town hall from the tent, you may notice some smaller details that make up Tom Nook and Isabel's office. Most of this is your typical office stuff, and unless you're really looking, it probably just looks like a normal ass office. However, to one kind stranger, they recognize something behind Tom Nook's desk that appears to be a real-life printer. Specifically, it appears that Tom Nook uses a Xerox Workcenter 7225 in his day-to-day. Now we finally know what he uses to print out all those ransom letters. Hell yeah. This user claims they work with printers in their job and was able to identify the printer in the game as this specific Xerox printer. This isn't super surprising, as many pieces of furniture resemble their real-life counterparts, but it's cool that they were able to recreate this printer to a T in the game, and even cooler, someone was able to spot it. The Xerox Workcenter 7225 was released in 2013 and is probably still being used to this day, so it's not a stretch to think that the developers were at some point using these printers daily and decided to design the printer in Nook's office after the real one they use all the time. Hey, I wonder if they'll add a fully functional Texas Instruments TI-80 graphing calculator in the 3.0 update. What do you guys think? Much like other games at this time, the original Animal Crossing on GameCube has had its beta and test maps leak online. There's a lot to see here. Quickly, in case anyone isn't aware, a test map is a map that is within the files of a game that developers use to test different game mechanics during development, usually a stripped down version of the game without the fluff so they can get straight to the issue at hand. In the original Animal Crossing's case, they needed to test a lot here, as there are 50 different test maps with varying degrees of strange shit to see. Obviously 50 is a lot to look through, so I'll be cherry picking a few to talk about for this entry, but if you're interested in seeing all 50, I'd recommend watching this video by Sly Cooper Reloaded Coded, where they go through all 50 of the test maps. To start, let's take a look at Ground Zero, or rather Beta Map Zero, that was used to test conversations mostly, but will show us what to expect from these test maps. Firstly, the skybox doesn't exist in test maps because, you know, who's got time for all that nonsense? I gotta get in here and fix Tom Nook's apron physics, brother. The lack of skybox really turns this from a cheerful experience to a rather eerie one. The surrounding town is filled with random assortments of objects that include weeds, trees, fruit, and even inclines and declines filled with pitfalls. While this isn't exclusive to the Beta Map Zero, the villagers are especially mean in this test map, as when you talk to them, they will complain about a full mailbox and then insult you. And this happens for everyone you talk to, so you just go around in this world shrouded in darkness and constantly get insulted. Yeah, I think I found Animal Crossing hell, brother. Beta Map 9 is used to test Nook's cranny and hilariously spawns the player in the black void located above Nook's. And you even come falling into the store when you walk up to Nook. Beta Map 26 sees the boot up screen in the player's attic, or wherever this black void is, but instead of being greeted by a villager, you're greeted with the side of their head. Hey, Tangy, bud, I'm over this way, dude. Just turn like 90 degrees, dude, you'll see me. Nah, you can't hear me, man. He's got pulp in his ears again. I told him to clean that shit out. There's a lot more oddities to see in these test maps that, if I had more time, I'd love to break down, but for now, we'll go ahead and move on. The Forbidden 4 isn't a leaked, freaky-ass version of fucking the Final Four from Pokemon like we all were thinking, but actually references 4 of the NES games in the original Animal Crossing that were so hard to get that they were considered forbidden by fans. The way to get these NES games ranged from buying them at Nook's or Red's all the way to going on a scavenger hunt of sorts that a villager set up for you. And that's just how you get the uncommon NES games. To get the rarest of the rare, you'll need to acquire them from Nintendo giveaways or acquiring the rarer e-reader cards for their respective games. The 4 games, of course, are some of the best quality ones you could play, including Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, the original Mario Bros., and Ice Climbers. Ice Climbers are alright, you know, but come on, Super Mario Bros. And Legend of Zelda, dude? While there is no way to get some of these due to them being given away years ago, exclusively in things like trade shows and shit, you can use things like the empty NES furniture item to retroactively load these games back in, with some even dedicating a whole ROM to including each of the 4 forbidden games on a single ROM. They even made a little custom title screen and called it Double Cross, and even calling the games the Forbidden Four. It's pretty cool. So yeah, looking back on it, it seems like Nintendo was a bit stingy with their more successful NES games, the games they knew everybody would want to be playing in Animal Crossing, and wanted to make it exclusive to obtain these, and making it damn near impossible for players to naturally 100% the game without needing to use some cheats or something. Pretty lame shit, Miyamoto, gotta say. Would you want your villager to be the only one playing Mario and Zelda on NES? You greedy bastard. You're starting to sound like that guy who bought that unreleased Wu-Tang album all for himself. Jar of Greed over there. Just saying, when he smiles, he looks like the Pot of Greed dude from Yu-Gi-Oh! Animal Crossing on GameCube once again stands out against the rest of the series for having an extra attention to detail that was left out of some of the subsequent entries. Most every mainline entry has had a set of Super Mario Bros. Items that vary depending on which one you play. The original GameCube Animal Crossing, for example, featured 8-bit versions of these items from the Mario universe, and all were uniquely interactable. If you interacted with, say, a 1-up, it would play a 1-up sound effect similar to when you're hitting the rocks in the game. Or if you interacted with the Power Star, your character would start to light up and turn different colors like Mario does when he touches a Power Star in the classic Mario series, dude. Not only that, but the Starman theme plays during this, and hey, you'll actually be invincible to Tom Nook's weekly visits, dude. Just pop this baby when he's coming in with that bat. The Starman is an item that you can get in later entries, but unlike the GameCube version, you won't flash different colors, and instead only the theme will play while the star spins. But yeah, I'm not going to shit on any of the games for not having it, but again, it's just another thing that makes the GameCube game stand out a little bit. The iQue game console was a unique version of the Nintendo 64 that was made exclusively for China that was released in 2003. The console itself is the controller you hold to play the games, and it came loaded with only 14 N64 games, non-negotiable. Hey guys, Post Gambato here, editing. So apparently these 14 games weren't preloaded onto the iQue, except for 1 or 2 games when you bought the system. Or sorry, not the system. It's not a system, it's a controller. And then the rest of the games were to be acquired from a kiosk in which you'd load the game onto your iQue's memory card from the kiosk. So yeah, it's even worse. You don't even get the 14 off rip, dude. Anyway. Yeah, 14 doesn't sound that bad, especially considering you have some real heat on here, but not having the option for the whole library kind of sucks, man. It's 1,000% better than nothing, as there was a ban on home video game consoles in China at the time, and this was a way to get around that, seeing as it was, hey, look, it's just a controller, guys, nothing fishy going on here. I'm just pretending to play video games. All that on the TV, that's a late night cartoon, brother. One of the 14 games that could be played off the iQue was a port of Animal Crossing, or rather Debutsu no Mori, which is known as Dongwu Sinlin on the iQue. You can imagine that the name wasn't the only thing changed to localize the game better to China, as the game has numerous changes, including things like different holidays fully missing, and a wide variety of furniture that has been changed. Some of my favorite changes are the ones that don't really make any sense, like the traffic guidance robot furniture piece being turned into a pile of yellow sand. What? To be fair, a lot of these items are so ingrained in Japanese culture that there likely wasn't an appropriate equivalent, so a lot of these items are completely different in the iQue game. Stuff like the Bujan wash bin being turned into a camera on a tripod, or the deer scare being turned into a stone table are pretty good examples of this. Some of the most interesting changes could even be considered censorship. Ooh. Most of the items with the N64 logo on it were replaced with the iQue logo or completely changed to something different, like the N64 logo shirt being changed into this generic game controller. Woo! Look at that controller, dude. Good thing it's not plugged up to a home console. Listen, they are some pretty strange changes, but I could see how they'd want to distance themselves from referencing a home console like the N64 in a version like this. Something funny some have noticed is that characters like Blathers and O'Hare appear on the game's cover art even though they aren't present in the game. That's because by this point, Debutsu no Mori had the Plus version already released with these characters added, but since this was a port of the original Debutsu no Mori, they are absent. Pretty big oversight, as there isn't a whole lot going on this cover, so to have 3 out of the 7 characters on the cover not even be in the game is that's some next level bullshit, man. There's definitely a few other differences that are worth looking into, but overall, that's some of the major changes to the iQue version. This has to be one of the most obscure versions of Animal Crossing you could play, and man, I thought the Animal Island expansion was obscure, dude. Damn. we're really starting to get into the wacky theories that are usually present in these icebergs. But like they say, dude, all good conspiracies usually end up being true. As we've discussed numerous times, Tom Nook is a sketchy fella, and that's put in a little light. We know he gives out loans with payments expected, with threats of violence if not paid in full from his Raccoon Goons. He targets people who are clearly going to be broke, like childlike characters including your villagers and the other animals that make up the towns. Considering he's also the economy flow for these towns in most games, we can pinpoint him as the ringleader to a child labor cult of sort. Okay, I know that's a huge leap, but in jest, it's fun to think of Tom Nook as evil as this dude. I mean, we know he's adopted his orphan nephews from the streets and put them to work pretty soon, so there's potential proof right there. Assuming they're paid though, we can look towards the player's villager and the surrounding animal villagers for potential victims of Tom Nook. Assuming Nook gives everyone else the same treatment as he does with your character, it means he's manipulating and controlling everybody in this town. Sure, it's a stretch to consider these children, but I've always assumed everyone here was kind of a young adult age, whatever that means for animals. But yeah, the age you'd be when you first move out into the world alone. Whether or not Tom Nook is actually the leader of a child labor cult, people have definitely taken notice of the way Nook has run things in the past. For now, all you need to know is that more in jest, there is a theory that Tom Nook isn't the loan shark I believe him to be, but rather a leader of the cult that uses child labor to supply his many businesses. Alright guys, it's getting pretty wild now, dude. Apparently, Osama bin Laden, yeah, that bin Laden, not the other one you were thinking of, was a fan of Animal Crossing Wild World and would play often in the early 2000s. After bin Laden was taken out, a hard drive was found in his possession that had a Nintendo DS emulator downloaded on it with several games like New Super Mario Bros. DS, Pokemon Diamond, and crazy enough, Animal Crossing Wild World. Yeah, not only did they have the Hitler stash in Wild World, fucking Osama was playing this bitch. This game cursed or something? It's speculated that while Osama was in hiding, he was playing a lot of video games to pass the time, apparently including a shit ton of Nintendo DS games. With this hard drive and many documents found during the bin Laden raid being declassified, many have attempted to recover these files to see exactly what bin Laden was doing in these games. Sure, we could have seen how good at platformer games he is, or what kind of party of Pokemon he uses, but by far the most morbid curiosity you could find from this is exploring his Animal Crossing town. Do you think he had enough time to make a crazy ass town like this, or do you think it was a shitty ass default ass town? I don't know. I don't even know if I'd want to know. But even if I did, to my knowledge, no one has been able to access the file as it seems to be corrupted. I think there's a lot of important things to see from this declassification. This one was a pretty big one for all the gamers out there. What's next? We're going to find out Saddam has a Harvest Moon save. I wonder what he named all his farm animals. Alright, man, this is getting a little ridiculous as far as Animal Crossing conspiracies go. Listen, I'm not here to get political. We all know where that leads, right? Dog abuse. But some think that Animal Crossing is secretly, at best, a commentary on Western democracy, and at worst, communist propaganda. This is due to how the economy of Animal Crossing works and how the game is a community, sharing, and non-stressful, goal-oriented type of game. However, there are others who state the opposite, that the game is actually more capitalistic, with stuff like Tom Nook and his many ways of making money. Listen, I don't know where Animal Crossing falls in terms of how its government operates, and nor did I ever think I'd be considering it, like, at all. I think if there are any nods to propaganda, it is really well hidden, at least to me, and I really never get the feeling like Animal Crossing aligns with communism, because I guess I begin and end thinking about Animal Crossing at just how many sea bass are actually in the ocean. This is above my pay grade. Let's go ahead and move on. It seems with each mainline release, we get someone on a random forum board always talking about this theory that Animal Crossing is the afterlife, or limbo, or even purgatory. When you start to break down some of these theories, the lines do start to connect, as smaller strange things do start to add up to the possibility that this game could be some form of an afterlife. People have pointed to the name Animal Crossing itself, which references the real-life warning crossing signs for animals animals on roadways. Perhaps the name refers to the fact that all of these animals are in some way already dead, with the name referencing that a lot of the villagers are actually roadkill. There are a lot of animals you typically find being killed on roadways, but there are also animals that are rarely killed by cars, like tigers, lions, and the such. These could be explained as like animals that are endangered species. Therefore, the non-roadkill animals here have simply died due to the species being endangered. Do I even have to mention the dodo birds from New Horizons, a well-known extinct species of bird? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think all of Animal Crossing is just a representation of the afterlife, or perhaps even purgatory or limbo or something? I think on any given day, I'm just enjoying the game for what it is, a life simulation game. But when you think a little deeper about the game, I think this idea or something like it is bound to pop into your head at some point. Fishing in Animal Crossing is pretty straightforward. You cast and reel in when you see the bobber get bit. It's been harder. Easier fish give you a lot more time to reel in when it bites versus rarer fish who are much harder to catch due to this window of time to press A being much shorter. This has led many players over the years to assume that there are just some fish that spawn that are actually impossible to catch. This isn't like an urban legend type of cursed fish or anything. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the theory that there are certain fish shadows that spawn that are actually impossible to catch to either keep the player on their toes or as a way to lower catch rates for fish or whatever. I could already see a bunch of comments saying that this just comes from players being bad at the game and every fish in Animal Crossing is catchable, which is what the internet will tell you as well. However, I'd like to bring up that at some point in all of our Animal Crossing careers, we've come across a fish that seems so fast to catch that it did seem impossible. I was ready as I could ever been. These would happen for me near the rarer fish spawns, like at the waterfall, probably with the char. But again, this could just be that I sucked at catching fish and these were harder fish to catch, so duh. I was missing these bitches. There's also a set of literal uncatchable fish in Animal Crossing on GameCube that lie far beyond where the player can cast. You can often see these fish when you're taking the boat with Kapp'n to Animal Island and clearly aren't able to be caught as the player is stuck in the cutscene with Kapp'n. If you unlock the player's camera and bring them to the middle of the ocean, you can attempt to catch these random fish shadows, but similar to trying to catch the whale shadow, this doesn't work when the player is standing on water. These are likely fish that are just set to randomly spawn, that just so happen to spawn far out in the water and are uncatchable, but are also likely the same fish you'd be able to catch in your town or on your island. So yeah, we're not missing out on a whole lot here like we are with the whale, but it is low-key frustrating to see a fish's shadow and not be able to catch it. I'm just telling myself it's another sea bass, even though that shadow is way too small, and we all know it, dude. Looking back at the beta maps real quick, one particular one that focuses on Nook's Cranny features a strange asset that isn't seen anywhere else in the game. If you load this beta map up and go near Nook's Cranny, you can find these three strange yellow cubes that seem to be stuck on a track motion going back and forth. Seeing as this only appears in the beta maps, it's likely just a testing asset that didn't have a lot of time spent on modeling, or perhaps it's a placeholder for another asset that has that motion. I got that motion, twin. There isn't much more to the cubes than perhaps nailing down the asset that replaced these in the final game, but to my knowledge, nothing acts quite this erratic in the final GameCube release. I could be wrong about that though. All in all, this could be just a strange unused asset that was simply made for testing and nothing else, or, hear me out, it could hold all the answers to the Animal Crossing universe. Either way, we're not finding out, so let's just move on. Animal Crossing New Horizons has a wide variety of fish to catch, and seeing as it's an Animal Crossing game, of course it'd have its new wave of players creating rumors, but I don't think anyone really expected this. Near New Horizons' peak popularity, a rumor began online that you were able to catch the Titanic while fishing in the game. Yeah, the fucking Titanic. And you thought the sunfish was the biggest catch in the game. Yeah, right, motherfucker, here comes a passenger ship. I wasn't able to find the origin of this rumor, but it seems to have started the same way as any of the best rumors I fell for when I was a kid. Just someone joking around, spreading misinformation. The joke definitely fooled some people too, as there are some forums out there of people asking how to catch it and questioning its authenticity. There's even a fake wiki page that claims the Titanic is catchable, even with a fake catchphrase for when your player catches it. Clear the deck, I caught the Titanic, it's gigantic. Yeah man, that'd be like if you dug up a chunk of one of the Twin Towers and your player player said, "Geronimo, look out below, I just dug up a steel beam." Yeah, not the best look for Nintendo, so that alone will tell you this one's fake, but it's still pretty humorous imagining your player pulling up a full-ass boat out of the water. And like, how would that even work? The ship clearly split into two pieces, so does it come up in one solid piece, or would you have to get both and combine them for the full ship? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore, but yeah, this is where the state of Animal Crossing rumors is at recently, so there you go. Time for a cooler but equally ridiculous Animal Crossing fishing rumor. This one takes place in Animal Crossing on GameCube with a fish known as the Deathwing. The fish would supposedly spawn in random bodies of water and has red eyes and fangs. The rumor stated that if you caught the fish, it would instantly reset your game back to the title screen, so you'd want to avoid this fish at all costs. However, that's hard to do, as you don't know what you caught until you already caught it. So the Deathwing worked as a sort of boogeyman fish for the Animal Crossing universe. Obviously, there is no such thing as a Deathwing in the game, and the closest thing you can get to a Deathwing in Animal Crossing is this dress someone made and shared on Reddit based on a Deathwing from World of Warcraft. Now that I think about it, perhaps the Deathwing rumor was started based on the Deathwing in World of Warcraft. The description of the fish seems similar enough to Deathwing with the fangs and red eyes and all that. I think a fish like this would be pretty cool as a super rare catch, but you know, without the annoying fact to reset your game. We got Fish Brutus before GTA 6, damn. In Animal Crossing, throughout the series, there's a chance that a villager will give you something to deliver to another villager, and these items will change based on what game you're playing. In Animal Crossing on GameCube, these items would vary from clothing items all the way to what I think is one of the coolest items to run across in the whole series. During these favors, there's a chance a villager gives you a small Tamagotchi pet that is actually a Pokemon Pikachu variant of the toy pet. Although you can obtain the item, you can't do anything with it besides complete the villager's favor or keep it until they move out and return it to the wishing fountain. It's low-key unfortunate that the item doesn't function like the NES games or something to where you could take care of a small Pikachu in your day-to-day, but I don't think that was ever the intention for this item, as it's more of a reference to the real-life Pikachu Tamagotchi pet. Even as a useless reference, it's still one of the coolest things I've seen referenced in Animal Crossing. But man, a smaller, simpler pet simulation hidden in a life simulator would go so hard, dude. A lot of fans have noticed that the character Kapp'n is, at best, a little flirty, and at worst is a fucking creep. He will often call the players cute and will come off like he's interested in something a little bit further. However, as many players are aware, Kapp'n is actually married, as it's revealed in Animal Crossing New Leaf, on the island where the shop is run by Kapp'n's wife, Leilani. Considering Kapp'n is still out here slinging Riz like he's a bachelor, this has led many players to believe either Kapp'n is emotionally cheating on Leilani, or they have an open relationship. I don't know, I'm probably reading too much into this, as many players give Kapp'n a break saying it's just his humor and he is just being kind. I don't know, man. Knowing what I know about Kappas and their background and all that, the thing this fuck is based on, I can't imagine Kapp'n is a great guy, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, let's go ahead and stop right there. Of all the games to have a tragedy like 9/11 happen in its universe, the last one you'd likely expect is Animal Crossing. But hey man, I guess this was bound to happen. One of my throwaway ridiculous jokes was bound to come true. This is actually confirmed from a post on Reddit that states in the Dodo airport there is a sign that doesn't allow bottles of liquid on the Dodo flights, confirming that yes, indeed 9/11 happened in the Animal Crossing universe at some point, or at least a 9/11 like event, with some joking it was like Tom Nook's finance buildings that were hit by planes. In reality, this is actually referencing a different foiled attack plot that was the 2006 transatlantic aircraft plot, where terrorists plotted to detonate liquid explosives disguised as drinks. So yeah, not quite 9/11 levels of bad, but still, it means that terrorists exist in this universe, dude. And if they've gone as far as banning liquids, then we can assume that means that somewhere there's a video of the Animal Crossing president, who I can only assume is Tortimer, receiving the news that the tower is going down. Dude, that's gotta be some insane footage to see. Initially, I was going to dedicate Layer 8 to some additional topics I wanted to cover that the icebergs I pulled from didn't get around to, but given that we just got a batch of a bunch of brand new topics for New Horizons, I figured it'd be worth it to break down the update and everything new coming to the series and returning. So I'll save the bonus layer for the compilation that's coming out soon. I'll just tag that on to the end of the comp. I'll definitely put a video chapter for that layer in case you don't want to watch through the whole thing again. I figured that'd just be easier than releasing another whole part just for another little bonus layer I wanted to cover. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at the new 3.0 update coming to New Horizons in January. It seems Nintendo saw how viable barely changing Wii U games and bringing them to the Switch was, so now they're doing that with a lot of the popular Switch games when releasing the Switch 2 versions. These games are brought over with minimal additions, mostly just being performance upgrades and often a gimmicky way to add in webcam features. Woo! Some of the best have been Kirby and the Forgotten Land and both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which desperately needed those performance upgrades, so there is some good examples of this. Unfortunately, these often come out at premium prices for the game itself and pretty steep upgrade prices that aren't always worth the money for what you get. It was just recently we got an announcement of a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is bringing a bunch of cool things, like being able to see your friends' ugly mugs while you run around your island. Even better, you can invite up to 12 players to your island to do absolutely nothing. They didn't even pretend to add something for these 4 more players to do on your island, like the inclusion of a minigame island or anything of that nature. Legitimately, the most hyped thing to come from the Switch 2 version is the ability to use the mouse controls, and that's about it. I don't know, man. I bought a Switch 2, but the decisions to make the console more social with webcams and shit, it's just so out of touch it hurts, man. They're pretending Discord didn't already exist for a decade. Sure, it's kind of cool to be integrated into the games itself, but it still feels hella gimmicky and not worth it for a lot of these games. And unfortunately, New Horizons Switch 2 version seems to be another disappointing upgrade. And hey, it's nice that they didn't make the 3.0 update exclusive to the Switch 2 version. That would have been the nail in the coffin for Nintendo, or at least in the eyes of Animal Crossing fans. By far the bigger announcement from the New Horizons Direct was the 3.0 update that is bringing the most new stuff to the game. We'll be breaking down each big announcement into its own entry, as there's a lot to see here, so overall, just to look at 3.0 more broadly, I think it's decent. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's definitely taking the steps in the right direction towards a better New Horizons, and perhaps has opened a door for even more updates in the future. Sure, I would have rathered a brand new game at this point, or even another standalone spin-off, but I still have a lot of problems with New Horizons, so if they could be fixed, I'd like them to be. And as I've stated, based on the 3.0 updates, they've answered a lot of my complaints I've had with the game, ones that I've made pretty obvious in earlier videos. But still, out of everything from this announcement, the most important to me and to those who put serious hours into New Horizons is the ability to craft multiple items at once. Oh, sweet baby Jesus, rejoice. Oh, we got it. Oh my god, I can actually use fish bait now. It's actually usable. It was never worth the 30 minutes it would take to make a stack of bait just to lose it in half that time, dude. It's amazing it took this long for a mechanic like this to make it in, but here we are. We're in the end game, baby. Anyway, let's march ahead and see what New Horizons will look like damn near 6 years after it was released. I was really down on the possibility of future collab villagers in the series, just due to how few there were initially in New Horizons, especially when you compare it to the previous games that had a bunch of these collab villagers, whether it was the Splatoon villagers in New Leaf or the strange pet translator villagers in Dobutsu no Mori. Well, Nintendo answered my call, and we now have several new collaboration villagers coming to the game, with Splatoon returning, and brand new to the series, The Legend of Zelda. Holy shit. By far, I'm more hyped for The Legend of Zelda villagers, sorry Splatoon, as they are so unique and unlike any other villagers we've seen before in Animal Crossing. Tulin, a bird villager, is clearly based on the design and style of the Rito birds from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and he or she looks pretty amazing here. Even better, we have Minoru, who is a deer who is seen dripped out in Zonai gear like this sick headpiece here. Sure, these guys might look out of place on your island, but it's no biggie to add in some of these sick new furniture pieces to make them fit in even better. Not only did Zelda get some love, but Splatoon is back back as well, and this time features CC and Vichy back in a new look. Man, this one is specifically pretty spooky. Well, this and Resetti's new job, as I was just talking about CC and Vichy earlier in this iceberg, and boom, they're back for this first time in almost a decade. They're based on the Splatoon 3 designs of Shiver and Fry, and look hella different from last time. And I gotta say, I'm digging their new style, especially CC, as she has so much more life here than last time. Vichy is also looking a lot better here as well, and just for the fact that they are making a return when I'm pretty sure I said there was little chance, I gotta let these two move in when the update comes out, dude. These two will also come with their fair share of Splatoon themed furniture, so hey, we did it, boys. We got into Miyamoto's head enough to where we're actually seeing some good changes. Let's go. What's even more exciting is this opens up the game to even more collaborations in the future, especially with Zelda here, so we could start to see some more wacky collaborations, like shit, just to throw one off the dome, Lego. That'd be weird as hell. Oh shit, what? Much like Sanrio, Nintendo and LEGO have had really good relations recently, specifically with the success of the Mario LEGO mini sets, but I much prefer their more complicated collabs like the Super Mario World Mario build set. Jesus, have I ever sounded more like a fucking nerd? It seems like this collaboration is finally transcending the physical world, as a slew of new LEGO themed items are coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons in the 3.0 update. A lot of this is just furniture that you could expect in an Animal Crossing house, except they're made out of Legos now. The simplicity of this is actually pretty endearing, and overall, I think it's tasteful and doesn't feel super out of place in New Horizons. I do understand those who might think this is going a little bit too far in terms of collaborations, and I can kind of see where you're coming from, but it's not like they added Lego villagers or anything. The most you can do with these items is have like a dedicated Lego room or rack some Lego merch here and there, so I don't think they went too crazy here. This is still way less weird than Sony signing off on that Horizon Lego game. Look at that, Lego collab with Horizons in the title. That actually works. Hey, we did it. This is definitely one of the stranger announcements in 3.0, but regardless, I don't hate it, and once again, it opens up to future third-party collaborations like this, specifically for furniture and clothing items, so I'm hyped to see what comes next. Perhaps one of the biggest additions to 3.0 is the addition of the hotel on your island that will now be located off the side of your dock, which itself got an extension to compensate for the hotel itself. The hotel is run by familiar faces. Kapp'n's family is back and in a similar situation as they were in New Leaf. Leilani is back running the front counter, while Grams can be seen running the souvenir shop again. Hell yeah, just like old days, dude. Not only does this look super familiar from New Leaf, but the actual purpose of the hotel is super reminiscent of something else that is already in the game. Happy Home Paradise. Yeah, this just seems like a dwarfed version of Happy Home Paradise for the base game, where you design hotel rooms based on a certain theme. In the direct, they show a seaside theme being decorated, but again from this, it legit just looks like a smaller version of Happy Home Paradise, as it appears you only get the one hotel room to decorate. I don't know, this definitely feels like been there, done that for me, and probably for anyone who's played through Happy Home Paradise. And yes, while it's great that people don't have to pay for that experience, that was one of the few Nintendo DLCs that was actually worth it, because of the amount of content it added. This seems like it will be pretty surface level, with you just decorating different hotel rooms, unlike Happy Home Paradise, where buildings like schools and hospitals were also available to be decorated. In good news, the hotel has added a souvenir shop in which you pay with the money you get paid for decorating the hotel rooms, so it's not completely just for fun when decorating them damn rooms. These seem like cool summer accessories like you'd find on the island in New Leaf, but again, they almost feel too close to the clothing items in Happy Home Paradise. I guess they're not all red this time, so that's decent. Lastly, the hotel and dock have added a shipping bin in which you can complete different orders for materials and furniture and such to be rewarded even more hotel points. I mean, hey, I'll never complain about more things to grind in the game, but how many fucking different currencies are in the game now? It's getting out of hand, dude. Overall, I'll really have to just wait till 3.0 to launch to really see what the hotel is all about and how good it can be. It seems like they're running out of ideas to me, but what do you guys think of the hotel? Are you guys hyped for it? I'll be excited if you can invite some of the hotel guests to live on your island after they stayed at the hotel for a few days or something. Again, we'll just have to wait and see, but honestly to me, you can go do this right now in a better version through Happy Home Paradise. Holy shit, dude. They really fucking did it. They gave my boy Resetti a new job. He's not gonna fade into obscurity after all. Let's go. Okay, this is hype, especially because I was just talking about how these guys aren't needed anymore due to things like auto-saving and all that. But man, they were really trying to find something for homie to do, because what the hell is this? It's like when work is slow, so your boss doesn't know what to do with you and just has you do some bullshit to pass the time. Here, scrub the fucking lining of the wall, brother. Resetti is now being used as another service the player can use to clear all the bullshit out of a plot of land. It seems like this will mainly be used for yards of houses as an easy way to pick up everything and rearrange. Plus, it looks like you can choose to also clear your beaches, or hell, why not do your entire town? This is definitely a nice quality of life update, but overall, for someone who doesn't change their town all that often, this isn't something I'll be using a whole lot. So I'll say this is a lot better than what the Resetti boys were being delegated to before. But still, unless you're hardcore into designing of islands, this is just another thing that probably should have been in the game from the start. It seems a lot of the 3.0 updates are focused on quality of life improvements for those who love to design their islands over everything else in the game, as the next entry is all about designing as well. The Slumber Islands are yet another thing for the hardcore island designers of Animal Crossing to rejoice about, as it is a blank dream island that the player can visit to design and do whatever they want. Because hey, it's not your base island, so it doesn't matter. Nothing's permanent. The Slumber Island is aptly named as you visit them in your dreams, and are islands that you can freely edit and work on without the worry of needing materials or money or any of that jazz. This will legitimately help my future playthroughs, as there is nothing worse than pouring hundreds of thousands of bells into different structures just to hate where you placed them, or for them not to go with the flow of your town like you thought. The Slumber Islands is basically the creative mode of Minecraft in Animal Crossing now, as you have everything in the game at your fingertips. Not only that, you and your friends can decorate these illusionary islands, so hey, I guess there is something you can do with your friends after all. There you go. I think you could even do some fun minigames of your own in Slumber Islands with your friends, like seeing who can terraform their half of the island faster or something, you know? Again, it's a super helpful tool to those who want to set up a test island first to make sure everything works before they pour several hours and bells into a design that might not have worked in the end. I think the Slumber Islands only helps New Horizons, especially the more hardcore players, but I can't help but to see a little bit of wasted potential for another mode, possibly even a little minigame island mode, I don't know. Where's that? I don't see any minigame island, Miyamoto. Did you not hear my complaints for that? No, but at least Resetti and his family can keep paying their bills. Cool. The last big thing that is worth mentioning from the 3.0 update is one of the most hype for fans of the GameCube Animal Crossing. That's because the ability to play NES games is back when players purchase the NES furniture item and have an active NSO subscription. Yeah, of course they had to get their little bag in there. But hey, if you're already paying the $4 a month for their shitty online service, then this is a pretty cool small thing to play around with. Unfortunately, it seems like it will only be a limited library of NES games from the NSO NES app, so hopefully we'll see more games added in the future. While this is super hype, I think it kind of sucks that it's only the one NES console you need to get. Sure, it's way easier that way, but there was something special about obtaining the different consoles for each game in the GameCube version. Maybe it was just the miniature box art on the games, but this definitely feels like it lost some of that charm. I think it's also due to the fact that it would take 5 seconds to close Animal Crossing and swap to the NSO app to play some NES games, so it kind of feels a little antiquated, but still it's a cool reference and thing you can do in the game now. Not only is the NES obtainable in the 3.0 update, but other Nintendo items like a Famicom and even some of Nintendo's original toys they made before getting into the video game market. These are so cool, dude, and I can't wait to make my own little Nintendo museum in a room in my house, dude. They didn't end up showing off all the items either, but we know there will be quite a few of Nintendo's classic consoles besides the NES, like the Game Boy and Super Famicom, as far as we could see in the order list. We can even see a shot of some of the consoles in the next scene, even showing off the American Super Nintendo next to the Super Famicom. A super cool addition and feel us right at home with this stuff like the Mario items present in New Horizons, so all in all, this was one of the coolest things from the 3.0 update announcement. Besides a few smaller things like the ability to expand your storage and store things like trees in your house, that was the basic highlights of the 3.0 update and what we can expect to hit the game in January. Overall, I was a tad bit underwhelmed by it when I first saw it, but looking at it deeper, there's definitely a lot of cool stuff here for new collaboration items and villagers, and even though I'm disappointed in additions like the hotel, I'm hyped to see what will come of New Horizons in the future. Maybe in another 6 years it'll feel as complete as New Leaf. I think there's a lot more to cover from Animal Crossing. Like, there's no way we've covered everything worth talking about from the series, but for now, I think it's safe to finally put a bow on the 2025 Animal Crossing Iceberg series. That'll do it for today's episode, and you can look out for a compilation of all the parts hit the channel very soon. Thanks to all of you who watched the entire video and the entire series up until this point. I appreciate all the kind and supportive comments, and I hope to see you all when I start up another Iceberg soon. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.